Welcome to the Destiny Church Tees Valley podcast. As you listen, it is our prayer that you are transformed through faith, hope, and love.
If you've got a Bible with you and you want to follow the reading, now I know it'll come up on the screen, but some of you might have a Bible with you if you're a Jesus follower, then I would encourage you to sort of get your Bible open, whether it's on a phone or a tablet, or like mine, one with pages, and follow the reading together. If you're a guest with us or joining us online, don't worry about it. It's a relatively short reading, so we'll just get through this and then we'll get straight into what I want to say. So I'm going to read something from what we call the Gospel of John. So there are 4 Gospels in the Bible. You may have heard of them: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And we're going to read from the John version of the life of Jesus. And what's really beautiful, we're still sort of in resurrection mode, and I love the songs that we had this morning. So last Sunday was Resurrection Sunday, and what the Bible does beautifully, all 4 Gospels, they give us stories not only of the resurrection day, but they give us some stories of after the resurrection. And each of the 4 Gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they all give us unique stories, stories that only they talk about in the context of the resurrection of Jesus. And we're going to lean into a story here that is unique. It's only found in the Gospel of John. So I'm going to read from John chapter 20, and I'll read from verse 19, and then we will read down to around about verse 31. Okay, so it's not too long a reading, and hopefully it'll all make sense to you. So here's the context. Jesus has risen from the dead that morning. The words got out, some rumors are starting to circulate, and then he appears to his core disciples on the Sunday evening. So some of you might know that Jesus had lots of followers, big crowds of followers, but we have this core 12 that keep popping up, 12 disciples, and Jesus is sort of appearing to them at this moment. So here we go, John chapter 20, verse 19, and it says these gorgeous words. On the evening of that first day, that's the resurrection day, when the disciples were together with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish authorities, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and his side. The disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. Again, Jesus said, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you." And with that, he breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive anyone his sins, they are forgiven. And if you do not forgive them, they are not forgiven." Now, Thomas, called Didymus, or if we were translating, that would be the twin. Now, Thomas the twin, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe it." 1 week later, I love that. In the Bible, a verse, a word can capture a year, a week, a month. Amazing. So between verses 25 and 26, a week has passed. So verse 26 says, a week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here. See my hands. Reach out your hand and put it in my side." Exactly what Thomas had said. And then he said this, "Stop doubting and believe." Thomas said to him, "My Lord and my God." Then Jesus told him, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." Jesus did many other miraculous signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. Now, in the Christian calendar, especially in the Eastern Church, the sort of Eastern version of Christianity, but some Western churches celebrate this as well. Today is a special day in the church calendar. It's Thomas Sunday. So turn to someone near to you and say, Happy Thomas Sunday. Come on now. Amazing, amazing. Anyone called Thomas in the room? Any Thomases in the room? That's unbelievable. No Thomases in the room. Incredible. We were all going to wish you a happy Sunday because it's your day today. Now, the reason it's called Happy Thomas Sunday is, well, it's not called Happy Thomas Sunday. The reason it's called Thomas Sunday is because it relates to this 1 week later moment. So you've got last Sunday, we celebrated the resurrection of Jesus. This Sunday sort of coincides with the story that we have just read. Now, here's the cool thing. If you put the 4 Gospels together, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but if you just read Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Thomas is hardly ever mentioned. He's a bit of a fringe character, in fact. In fact, if you were trying to write an essay on Thomas from Matthew, Mark, and Luke, you'd be like struggling to write a few hundred words because hardly anything is said. All the big pieces of information we've got about Thomas are all in the Gospel of John. In fact, if you want to hunt this down and check it out, John has Thomas speaking more in his gospel than the other 3 gospels all connected together. So if you really want to get a sense of Thomas, the man who's at the heart of this story, the man whose Sunday it is today, you've got to sort of drill into John's gospel a little bit and check out what's going on. If you're interested, I really encourage you to do that. Now, let me just give you the headlines on that. John has Thomas recorded speaking 4 distinct moments in his gospel. And they're really important. You get a wee bit of a pattern here developing with Thomas. The first time we hear him speaking is way back in John chapter 11, and Jesus' friend Lazarus has just died, and Jesus is going back in order to raise Lazarus from the dead. It's an amazing, amazing story. Now, the problem Jesus has, he's going back to an area where previously they tried to kill him. Okay? So as Jesus gets up and says to his disciples, let's go, Thomas pipes up and he says, let us also go that we may die with him. Okay, so now I don't know if that's a statement of courage or it's a slightly cynical statement. It's hard to read what's going on there. Is Thomas like being a bit like sarcastic and cynical there? Yeah, let's all go and die together. Or is Thomas saying something courageous? Hey, let's go with them so that we too may die. It's hard to work out exactly what's going on. But that's his first comment. It's sort of he pipes up and lets people know what he thinks. The second comment is found a little bit later in John chapter 14. Jesus is in the upper room with his disciples. It's the night before he's about to die, and he's spending some time with them and teaching them some stuff. And he says this incredibly famous statement. He says, I am the way, I am the truth, and I'm the life. And then he starts talking about where he's going and encouraging his disciples to follow that. Thomas speaks up again. He says, Lord, we don't know where you are going, so how can we know the way? Now again, how did he ask that question? Is that Thomas being cynical or skeptical? Or is that Thomas genuinely searching? Is that Thomas saying, Lord, where are you going? If you're going somewhere, we need to know where you are going. Then the third time we hear him speaking is in our story. In fact, there's a week apart from the third statement and the fourth statement. We're going to think about both of those statements this morning very briefly. And in John chapter 20 that we've just read, he says these words, unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger into where the nails were and put my hand into his side, I will not believe. Now, is that a question of doubt? Or is that a question of desire? Jesus seems to suggest from his answer 1 week later that it's more doubt than desire. But the question that sort of I ask myself when I hear these words is this. Was Thomas right to question? Was Thomas right when he said, hey, to his friends, it's okay for you. You've seen him, but I haven't, right? It's all right for you to say to me, we have seen the Lord. He rocked up while you were out, getting a Big Mac and fries. Jesus turned up, and here he is. And we had an amazing time with him. And Thomas says, that's okay for you. But I haven't seen him. And it's okay that you've seen him, and I get it, and I accept the fact that you've seen him, but I need to see him. And it's okay for you guys to get excited that we're going to do this and we're going to do that because of what Jesus said to us. But actually, I wasn't in the room. I don't know. And Thomas is saying something that I think is, on one level, it's a sort of a doubt and a question. And on another level, it's quite courageous. He's sort of saying, I need to see what you see. And I love that. And I know this is a controversial passage because we call Thomas Doubting Thomas because of this story. And I get that. I'm prepared to accept that. Not going to push back on that. But I have to say to you, to be really vulnerable with you, there's something about Thomas's pushback that I like. He's saying something really powerful. I need to see. I want to see. And actually, I hear that you guys are really excited that you've seen, but I haven't. And something inside me like reaches out and says, come on, there's an attitude there, there's a response there that sort of should be in all of our hearts. Lord, I need to see you. Lord, I want to encounter you. Lord, I want to meet with you. Lord, I don't want to depend on someone else's seeing. I want to have my own seeing experience. That makes sense? And I could be completely wrong. I could be sort of maybe backing Thomas's corner when I shouldn't be, but there's something in what he says that I like. And Thomas teaches us a couple of things from this story that might help. We've been encouraged to actively listen on 3 things. You may already be zoning out and I haven't even got to the main things, but just in case you're still with me, Thomas teaches us, I think, a number of really important things from this story. I think on Thomas Sunday, he's teaching us this, that without personal revelation, or let me put it another way, without seeing for yourself, you end up relying on others who have seen. We have seen the Lord. That's cool, but I haven't. So if Thomas doesn't see the Lord for himself, then he's relying on the people who claim they have seen him. Are you with me? So Thomas is teaching us, actually there's a little principle here that although Jesus ultimately calls Thomas to trust in him, and we'll get to that towards the end, there's another sense in which Thomas is drilling into something that's really important. He's teaching us that I can't live on what you see. I can only live on what I see. Are you with me? Now, this is tricky. I'm playing with fire here because this is a statement of doubt at one level, and it's also a bit of a powerful nudge at another. Thomas is teaching us something pretty deep here, that he's saying this, listen, I can't live on what you see. If I'm going to live for this cause, if I'm going to live for Jesus the Messiah, it's got to be because I see something, not because you see it. And no matter how much you jump up and down and tell me, I've seen the Lord, are you with me? A few years ago, I had the privilege to go to Zimbabwe on mission, and we took a missions team out there, had an amazing, amazing time, and they worked us really hard, has to be said, but they gave us a day off, and on the day off, we went to a local safari park. Ooh, it was better than that, but never mind, it's okay. You're a hard crowd to impress. And so we went to the safari park. It was brilliant. And we had this option of going on the safari to sort of see things like zebra and giraffe and wildebeest, stuff like that. And you either had the option of going on the back of a jeep and being driven around, or you could get on the back of a horse. Come on now, you're doing better. That's good. Come on. Or you could do it on a horse. And listen, I'm from Belfast. Never really ridden a horse. My wife is very good at riding horses. I'm not very good at that sort of stuff. And I heard my mouth say, I'd love to go on the horse. I'll go on the horse. And as soon as it was out of my mouth, I'm thinking, what? Okay, so we ended up getting on the horse, about 6 of us, and we had our lead was a man, believe it or not, this is really his name. His lead name was Shepherd. So Shepherd was guiding us through the safari. Now, here's the good news. The horses obviously we're used to stupid people like me. So the horse clearly understood, I don't know how to ride. And actually, it was just following the trail. And these horses are well trained, and they just follow the lead. And as long as I don't then do anything stupid and try and be like, a hero, this is all going to be fine. So I'm riding along on my horse, and then suddenly Shepherd stops, and my horse was about third in the line. All the horses stopped when Shepherd stopped. I didn't do a thing. There was no buttons to press. Or, I didn't even say, whoa. The horse just stopped. And so Shepherd went like this. It's absolutely true. He went, giraffe. And he points. And so everyone in our group looks to where Shepherd is pointing. And they all go, giraffe. And I went, where? I'm not making this up. It's absolutely true, as I tell you. And I went, now listen, I know what a giraffe looks like, right? Big long neck, 4 big long legs, outside are orange, or if it's a bull giraffe, it's like a dark burnt orange. I've got it. I saw a giraffe in a zoo. I know what a giraffe looks like, so I know what I'm looking for. And yet everybody's going, giraffe. And I'm going, where? And honestly, I couldn't see it. And here's the thing. The last time I saw a giraffe, it was in a zoo in a concrete pound. Hard to miss a giraffe in a zoo, in a concrete pound. But now I'm looking at the burnt savannah. I'm looking at trees on the horizon. I'm looking for this giraffe, this huge thing. I'm thinking, where is it? How do you miss a giraffe? Right? And people around me started to get agitated, and they started to say, it's there. Now, I'm from Northern Ireland. You start pointing at me or pointing for me or sticking your finger to it. I get a bit agitated, and I said, listen, no matter how many times you tell me it's there, I still can't see it, right? Telling me it's there doesn't help me either. And Shepherd calmed everybody down. He did something amazing. He said, everybody cool. Hey, chill out. Everybody be quiet and just listen and watch. And and these horses just stood there. And there I am. And then the giraffe was behind a tree. He'd been feeding in a tree. And suddenly he moved. And I went, giraffe! And everybody went, okay, can we move on now? Can we have the rest of the tour? Have you got it? Now here's the thing, brothers and sisters. Here's the thing, visitors. Here's the people online. I could have lied. Oh, yeah, giraffe. Yeah. Long neck, 4 length. Big black tongue. Yeah, I know what a giraffe looks like. Seen one in a zoo. So I could have faked it. Oh, yeah. Let's move on. Let's find some zebra. But I couldn't see it. And in that moment, I did a Thomas. I'm not moving. I want to see the giraffe. I can't see the giraffe. You're all making this up. I want to see this giraffe for myself. And when the giraffe moved, boom. Got it. And once I seen it, couldn't unsee it. Couldn't unsee it. And Dawn will tell you, I came back from that trip, I became a giraffe fan. It's like we have giraffes all over our house. I love giraffes. They're amazing. Why? Because I saw it for myself. You could be a visitor here. You could be online. You're going, why are all these people jumping up and down? Why are they singing these songs? Why are they getting so excited about this Jesus person? Because we have seen him. We've met him. He has literally walked into our lives and changed us. And there are dozens of people in this room have Jesus stories. Stories where they have encountered the giraffe that is Jesus. They've seen the giraffe. And you're sitting there going, where? And I know how frustrating that can be. And if you're here and you can't see the giraffe, I want you to do a Thomas. I want you to say, I need to see the giraffe. Let me see the giraffe for myself. Open my eyes today so that I can see the giraffe. Open my eyes, forgive me, for liking Jesus to a giraffe. But I think Jesus is cool with the illustration, right? Let me see the giraffe. Because here's the thing. If you fake it, you live on a faked idea. But Thomas is teaching us, don't take Peter's word for it. Don't take Dr. John's word for it. Don't take Faith's word for it. Can you see the giraffe? It's not what your mom and dad can see. Can you see? It's not what your small group leader can see. Have you seen? Come on. And Thomas on Thomas Sunday says, don't, because Thomas knew what Jesus looked like. Thomas had spent 3 years with Jesus. So it's not like he doesn't know him. He just hasn't seen him since he died. And Thomas has the courage to hang out for the answer and say, no, I need to see for myself. And I want to encourage you online, if you're in this room and you've come searching and you're wondering, what are all these people? It's because we've seen the Lord. And today we believe that your heart can be opened to see the Lord for yourself. If, like Thomas, you go, I want to see him. Does that make sense? Here's the second idea, which is sort of connected to that, and I just want to develop a little bit more. When you see for yourself, everything changes. Once you see, you cannot unsee. Amen? Once you've seen him, you cannot unsee him. Now you can refuse to follow him once you've seen him. You can ignore him. You can walk away from him, but you can't unsee him. Come on. We were praying in this church for people who once knew the Lord and are not following him. And one of the things that I want to pray over people and speak over people is, wherever you are, if you're one of those people online or in this room, that you once walked with Jesus, listen, whatever your life looks like, you may be ignoring him, you may be not following him, you may be trying to put him in a box, but you can't unsee him. If you met him, you've met him. If he's walked into your life, he's walked into your life. And whatever you're doing with your life, and I'm doing with my life, in response to seeing the giraffe, or in response to seeing him, I cannot unsee that. I cannot unsee that. Since seeing giraffes, I've become a giraffe fan. Dawn tells me off, or on Instagram sometimes, these safari stories come up on Instagram of lions eating giraffes. And I get so upset. She says, why do you do that to yourself? Stop that. Stop looking at it. And I'm trying to rescue the giraffe. I hate those lions for eating the giraffe. I've become a giraffe fan. But I could have seen that giraffe and then forgot all about them. But what I can't deny is the moment I saw it. And when you see him, everything changes. Now, it can change for the better, and that's what he wants. He wants to reveal himself to you so that my life and your life gets in line with him. Our lives line up with his purpose, his plan, his desire. And my goodness, listen, that won't give you a perfect life, and it won't give you an easy life, and it won't give you everything you want, but it will give you everything you were designed to be. It will give you everything he wants you to be. And if you follow after Jesus with all of your heart, you will and I will end up with a better version of our lives than we could have had without Jesus. And so seeing him, as we see him, as we get to use a Bible word, we get a revelation. It's like we see something for ourselves. We're not seeing it because our spouse has seen it. We're not seeing it because my dad's seen it. We're not seeing it because our pastor has seen it. We're not seeing it because our friend sitting next to us has seen it. We have seen the Lord. If this came down to it, if you had to put money on the table, if you had to put real collateral behind what you've seen, you would put it on the table because I've seen the Lord. Seen the Lord. Because once you see him, everything changes. And Thomas is teaching that. Thomas's life changed radically from this moment on. What happened to Thomas after the resurrection? I'll tell you. He left Jerusalem. He traveled all the way to what we would call today modern India, an area called Parthia, which sort of straddled India and parts of Iran, and he took the gospel to that area. Not only did he take the gospel to that area, traveling halfway across the world on foot, but he ended up becoming a martyr for that cause in AD 72, speared to death. You don't get speared to death because of what someone else has seen. You die because of what you've seen. You give your life to something I've seen. So when they're running the spears through him, I have seen the Lord. I have seen the Lord. I cannot deny what I've seen. I cannot deny what I've experienced. I have met the Lord. And because I've met the Lord, I cannot walk away from that idea. Now, that's happened to me. It's happened to people in this room. I saw the Lord, if you like to use that language. I had an encounter with Jesus when I was 8 years old. I'm now 59, so that's over 50 years ago, and I cannot unsee it. I cannot deny it. I cannot walk away from it. And every single day of my life, it calls to me. It calls to me. And it calls for me to surrender my life to that moment, to the moment when Jesus, as we've been singing about today, stepped into our world. Not only on the cross 2,000 years ago, but for people in this room. If you hang around for a coffee, they will tell you of the moment they saw the giraffe. And he stepped into their world and changed them. And he changed my life. He changed the direction of my life. And my life has been radically changed. The direction radically changed. Not because I'm better than you, not because I'm a good person, not because I'm perfect, but because I saw him. And I cannot unsee Jesus. And if we see Jesus, truly see Jesus, everything changes. Thomas said that day, my Lord, my God, one of the greatest statements in the whole of the New Testament. It's an amazing statement. My Lord, my God. And for that moment, everything changed. Here's the last idea, and I'm drawn to a close. You'll be glad to hear. Thomas's story, Thomas's Sunday, teaches us this third incredible idea. That Jesus, that day, turned up just for him. A thought. 1 week later, after appearing to the others, and I love this idea that Jesus makes him wait for a week. It's just like the Lord to do that, right? Why didn't Jesus just turn up the next day or the next hour and put Thomas out of his misery? But no, a week later, poor old Thomas is stewing. Poor old Thomas is going through a week of hearing the disciples say, we've seen him, and shut up. Leave me alone. And Jesus turns up a week later. He says, peace to you. And that you there, just trust me, is plural. He's saying peace to the group. Peace to you. A beautiful greeting. Also a beautiful encouragement. Peace, my wholeness to you. And then immediately after he says that, he turns to Thomas. So though he says peace to the group, he's there for Thomas. And he turns to Thomas and he says, Thomas, come on, lad. This is what you wanted, wasn't you? I wasn't in the room, but I heard what you said. Come on then. Come on then. Come on, lad. Now, Thomas, as far as we tell, didn't stick his fingers in. Didn't put his hand in. Why would you? And Thomas proclaims, my Lord and my God. Because Thomas realized something, that Jesus hadn't just turned up for everybody. Jesus had turned up just for him. That's the sort of God that's the God we've been worshiping today. In one sense, Jesus died for the whole world. Over 8 billion people live on planet human right now. I watched the pictures from Artemis 2. Goodness me. And you look down on that little blue marble, 8 billion of us running around. And Jesus died for the whole thing. And yet, he didn't just die for the whole thing, it zeroes right down. And he died for Thomas. He died for the 8-year-old boy in Belfast. He died for you. In your doubt, in your fear, in your anxiety, maybe even for some of you in your rebellion. He died for you. And he's here today. And he says, come on then. And if our hearts are open to him, if like Thomas, in a good way, we say, Lord, I need to see you. Not in a doubting way, but in a desire way. Lord, open my eyes. Lord, open my heart. Lord, open my world. That I would see you for myself. Everybody's saying giraffe, but I need to see the giraffe for myself. If you are willing to open up your heart, brothers and sisters, if you are willing to open up as a guest and a friend to this place, if you're willing to open up your life as you're sitting at home online, if you're willing to open up your heart and say, Lord, I want to see you. I absolutely believe that the Jesus who turned up just for Thomas will turn up for you. And it's an amazing mystery, friends. It's an amazing idea that the God who created the universe knows who you are, knows your name, knows every WhatsApp message that's on your phone right now, knows the hairs on your head, knows the job you have or you don't have, knows everything about your life, and he still wants to turn up for you. Still wants to turn up. And he doesn't just want to turn up one day and leave you. He wants to turn up and stay and be part of your world. Thomas said, unless I see, I will not believe. And there's a weird sense in which, in Thomas's case, seeing was believing. He saw something. Not because Peter saw it, but because he saw it. And I want to ask you this morning as I draw this to a close, what do you see? Not what Pastor Jonathan said he saw. What do you see? Not what your dad sees, your mum sees, your spouse sees. What do you see? Because Thomas teaches us on Thomas Sunday, if you see for yourself, everything changes. And Thomas teaches us that the Jesus he longed to see actually wants to be seen. He wants to open up his life to every single one of us, whether you are first time in this building, first time listening online, or you're like me, you've been a Jesus follower for 1,000,000 years or so. Jesus wants to be seen. And he will respond to hearts of hunger. Respond to hearts that say, Lord, open my eyes. And maybe the one thing you could do today, or the one thing you could do this week, Lord, I want to see. Help me to see by faith. Help me to see for myself, so that in seeing you, everything changes. Amen?
Thanks for listening today. If this message spoke to you and you would like prayer, or perhaps this is your first time listening, then we'd love to connect with you at www.thedestinychurch.co.uk/connect. You're welcome to join us every Sunday in person or online at 11 a.m.